I was asked a question at a show this past weekend. What's my favorite group of the U.S. Mint's oldest collector set, which is the uncirculated sets? And I had to pause for a second because these go all the way back to 1947. And the earlier decade was that double set, pretty cool, packaging, kind of rough. Now we have state quarters, we have national parks, the brand new woman making history. '09 was the special set with the Lincoln cents. But after I walked through kind of what I just said here with you is, well, there's only 6 sets during that 3/4 of a century span that have a big silver dollar. Those are my favorites, and those are right here, right now, this evening. And that is the unique part of it. But if you take a time out and just look at the history of the U.S. Mint, the last silver dollar made for circulation. Well, remember we pulled gold in 1934. We pulled silver dollars in 1935, and that was over. We did bring the Eisenhower out in 1971. We did make silver Eisenhowers. But the silver Eisenhowers were never pushed into circulation, and they were never put into these uncirculated sets, which is odd, but I get it, right? And then we had Susan B. Anthony in 79. We had Sacagawea dash the Native American dollar program for the last quarter century, right? We had presidential dollars. We have the innovation dollar program currently as well. Those are all the mini blank, about the size of a quarter. Now they're golden color, so there's less confusion. So then you come back to, well, they make uncirculated sets. And again, in 1958, that was the last year of the double sets, where these were punched into cardboard. Then they improved the packaging, very similar to what you're seeing. And then in 1968, they separated the P's and the D's by colorization strips, i.e. red and blue respectively for Philadelphia and Denver to help us even more. Everything was now put into a white envelope, so there's 2 sleeves per. And then they made even better strides in 1984, and the rest is kind of history. But these, everybody, these 6 sets hold a very special place in U.S. Mint history. Because as I referenced, they're called the jumbo dollars. The Morgan was 38.1. The Peace Dollar is 38.1. The Eisenhower is 38.1. Susan B. Anthony, 27. All the rest of them, 27. So when we say jumbo dollar, we're talking about the big dollars that were the foundation of our westward expansion and our early 20th century growth, the early 1900s. So we have 6 sets. Now tonight, let's do the math, everybody. Pretty simple one for us, right? We are looking at 6 sets, and we're at $89.95. That means we're under $15 a set. Why am I referencing that to start? Because when you start hearing the individual values on some of these Eisenhowers, it just makes you scratch your head. Now, 1973, we're looking at $27.50 each for the coins in uncirculated condition. Each. So we're over $50 for the first year. 1974, $11.50 each. 1975, by the way, the Eisenhowers, you can actually tell the difference between a 75 dated coin and a 76 dated coin. And that is right there. On the back of 75, only the Eisenhower in our bicentennial coins has like crayon lettering. Flat letters, right? 1976, they updated it to make it look much crisper. It's our largest bicentennial. We got to make this right. So even though the coins on the front look the same, on the back you can tell what is a 75 and a 76. Because remember, the dual date is on both. 1776-1976, our first ever dual dated coins in circulation. And by the way, how many of you actually spent any of those when you got them? I remember when I would get them in pocket change or whatever, it's like, God, I can't spend these. These are special. All right? And go figure, 50 years later almost, right? We're going to be celebrating USA 250 in just a matter of a couple of years, and that's going to be an explosion of fun. But back to here. The only 6 sets, again, with jumbo dollars in them. I was referencing the 75 Type 1 before I distracted myself. $23.75, $11.75. So you're looking at $45 just for the 1975 coins. The 1976 coins, $12 and $11. So over $23 for those two. The 77s are $11.50 each, so we're looking at $23. The 78, $12.75, $11.75, over $24. Those are for the dollars cut out of these sets. Not to mention, at the Kennedy half dollars alone, in these 6 sets, which is the 12 Kennedys, those 12 Kennedys sell for over $55 today by themselves. So when you hear myself, Allison or Alex talk about break value inside of a collection or inside of a set, it's looking at what's the set, and then what are the individual components inside of its value. And when you look at that, the 73 and the 74, when you add the Eisenhowers and the Kennedys together, which means the two P's, the P&D Kennedy, the P&D Eisenhower, they're over $90 for the first 2 sets, just those 4 coins. So if you add them all up, my competition's at $98 on the 6 Philadelphia Eisenhowers, and they're at $85 on the 6 Denver uncirculated dollars. Add them together, they're $184 just for the 12 Eisenhowers. Now, my competition also sells these gorgeous sets. Early issue, over half a century old. And they're at $221 for those. So tonight, yeah, at $89.95, it's the lowest price I can think of we've been on this grouping. And very rarely will we even offer this grouping because some of them, the only way you get a Kennedy, the only way you get an Eisenhower in today's market is to do what? Break a set. Well, what does that mean? Over time, like the last half century, the sets are ridiculously more valuable and significantly harder to find. Original government packaging, this is it. This is the way they were issued at this time in history, and we have them. Guys, we got to put a 30-second clock up. There is a lot of activity on the phones right now, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. If there are specific sets you need, check our website. We got them all. avccoins.com. There's a tab that'll tell you uncirculated sets and by the decade you want to look. So if you need a 73, we got them. You need a 78, we got them. You need some of the earlier ones. We got a lot of these sets going back into the 1950s. But tonight, the key, the only, and I mean it, the only sets ever issued by the U.S. Mint with the big dollar, the 38.1 millimeter, are these 6. They're the Eisenhowers. We have the original sets, not 221 for the same 6 sets. We're at $89.95 while they last.